Matt Cusson checking in on the podcast. Matt, how are you?
Good. How are you? I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you coming on. We were just talking about before we got recording about how you were born and raised in, the Berks, Massachusetts. So
hmm
I'm curious a little bit to know how how your story basically goes from, for people that aren't familiar with like Pittsfield and all that, it's a very kind of small community, very rural. How do you go from, working in your immediate community, like somewhere small in the Berks, to now being a Grammy nominated artist? Like that's kind of a big jump, I feel.
It's cool. Yeah, no, it's man, I owe a lot to the Berks. The Berks is a beautiful place to live. It's there's so much music and art here. And growing up, I grew up in a very musical family. And my dad, although eventually became an insurance man, he was a choir director, an arranger, and a songwriter and a piano player.
Mhm.
My mother was a classical pianist, and had about 70 students most of my childhood. So it was 8 to 6 p.m. every single day, classical exercises that I would then go imitate when I was, 5 years old on the piano.
Right.
I was constantly banging on the piano. I had a drum set. I played drums for a couple years. And I always sang. My brother listened to like the singer-songwriter rock stuff, Billy Joel and all that. My sister listened to the Stevie Wonder, R&B, Earth, Wind and Fire. So, and my dad was a jazz head. So, and
Mhm.
I'm 10 and 12 years younger than my brother and sister. I was kind of a mistake. In
Oh, right.
quotes. Yeah, or the surprise, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
So I think I was just a petri dish of everything coming in on me and soaking up this jazz music and soaking up the hand and exercises my mother would teach her 5-year-olds and the fur releases that the older students would play. And I think I just soaked it all up. And
Hmm.
honestly, there was never a moment I didn't want to be a musician, as far as
Right.
I can remember. It was
Right.
always music. And then you start getting out. I started singing at weddings and funerals and little corporate events. And my first open mic night, my first performance ever in front of people was when I was 10 at a little club in Lenox, Massachusetts, which is in the Berkshires as well.
Hmm.
And man, from there, it became, I went to Berkeley,
Yeah.
and that opened up so many doors. That's where I met Brian McKnight and started working with
Yeah.
him. And yeah, and I dropped, and I did the LA and the New York thing. I lived in LA for probably a total of 5 years broken up. And I
Hmm.
lived in New York for so many years, 10, 12, 13, 14, I don't even remember.
Right.
Um, and so I did that, but the I miss those cities, for sure, and I visit them constantly. But the good thing about music these days is, you can kind of do it from anywhere, especially if you're a studio musician. I do more stuff in my home studio. I'm at my parents' house right now, but
Hmm.
I do more stuff in my home studio than I still tour, but most of my work is at home anyways, and you can outsource. I did a song with somebody from Spain
Right.
last week. I did it. Yeah. So that's kind of the cool thing. So it's just a matter of one fan at a time, one gig at a time since I was, 10 pretty much
Yeah. Yeah. You were hustling from what it sounds like.
from day one, from
From
day
day
one,
one.
because music is not, it's not, especially the way it is these days, it's not easy. So
Oh, yeah.
it's,
No,
yeah.
definitely. I want to talk a little bit more about your relationship with Brian McKnight because from what I saw, he was kind of like a mentor to you in a way,
Big
correct?
time. Big time. Yeah. He met him when I was 18, in Boston. He was in town doing a celebrity basketball game,
Hmm.
and he wanted to stop by Berkeley. No, but he's a phenomenal musician, Brian McKnight. A lot of people just know him for his pop hits.
Hmm.
That dude plays like, oh my God, and sings and just he's one of those guys that just
Yeah.
like, oh, I hate you because you do everything amazing.
Right.
So I met him, and so at the time, his musical director, Rob Lewis, who I owe a massive amount to my career as well, Rob was supposed to produce my demo when we
Hmm.
used to make demos and send them to record labels back then.
Yeah. The good old
And
days.
the good old days, yeah. So before we even started working on it, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, McKnight's in town. I know you're a fan. He's going to come by Berkeley if you want to come meet him." And I was, of course, like, freaking out. And I went into this practice room, and he walked in, and there was about 12, 13, 14, 15 people in there. And about an hour in of everybody just kind of playing, talking, asking questions, Rob was like, "I want to hear Matt sing." So I got on the piano and sang. I was as nervous as I could ever be. And about 20 seconds into me playing and singing, Brian gets on the phone. I'm like, oh, he thinks I'm terrible. This is annoying to him.
Right.
I finished my song and he was like, as soon as you opened your mouth, I had to call my manager and say, you got to hear this guy. And then I called my wife and I had to say, and so literally that night we talked. He was like, what are you trying to do? I was like, I just want to play music. And I literally dropped out of Berkeley that night and flew to LA to his house the next day, stayed for a couple of weeks, signed a little deal with him and wrote a bunch of tunes with him. It was pretty surreal how that whole story worked out. And then, you know, things fizzled, stuff passed. And a few years later, I ended up touring with him as a keyboard player, opening act, and a background singer for 8 years or so.
Right. Yeah. That is really the epitome of like right time, right place, it sounds like.
Big time. Especially, I was pretty obsessed with him in my teenage years. His first couple albums have really, I remember when I heard him, I was like, that's how I want to sing and play. When I was like, I was only like 8 when I first heard him, but I basically lived with his music for my entire teenage, you know, outside of all the other stuff I listened to. He was just one that kind of stuck out for me.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that too, because I was listening to your stuff earlier this morning and I said, once I saw the name Brian McKnight, you know, on your bio, I was like, yeah, I hear it. Like I hear it.
Yeah, there's a few tunes. Yeah, there's a few tunes that are definitely. There's actually a song he wrote on my first record that I did with my friend Shoshana Bean, and there's been times where people would say you sound just like they used to call me Brian McWhite when I was a teenager. So I shook that name, but that's not a bad guy to be compared to.
Right. No, yeah, definitely. And then I mean, from looking at you too, like you wear so many hats. Like you've done,
I do,
like you said, songwriting, singing, directing, arranging. Like, do you have one that like you kind of prefer over the others? Because you said you kind of started out more like in the singer songwriter lane, but now as we're talking about like the Grammy nom for How Deep Is Your Love, like that was arrangement. So do you kind of like float towards one more than the other? Or is it all like a hodgepodge?
I you know, as long as it's music, I want to do it all. I've been saying that since I can remember. My goal when I was at Berkeley was I want to one day be a one-stop shop for artists to come if they need a singer, piano, producer, arranger. I mix now, so mixing records. I want to be that one guy that I can take you from the beginning of an idea to put the music out.
Yeah.
And I kind of honed all those skills, concentrating on different ones at different times, but arranging, obviously singing and piano playing, that's always been, in producing. Those have always been those 4 things. It's a terrible answer to your question. There's not one that I love, but I spend equal amount of time on each thing.
Right. Yeah. And does that kind of differ or vary between artists? Because same thing, like looking at the number of people you've collaborated with, like just to name a few, like Christina Aguilera, Anderson .Paak, Dua Lipa, like, you know, are there certain artists or certain roles that you kind of take more on with working with a specific person?
For sure. So with like Christina Aguilera, I was hired to sing that song Say Something as a duet with her during her shows. And then I sang background for her for the other, you know, however many songs that were in the show. And that was pretty nerve-wracking for me. It was a dream, but I'm a nervous ball. I've never been the guy to be like, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna go. I'm like, no, I'm the nervous guy. But that was all singing and playing. Anderson .Paak was playing keys and key synth bass. Every gig I did is something different, and I kind of like that. I mean, there maybe there's a little part of me that wishes I should have just concentrated on piano, and I would have been way better piano at this point in my life and putting out jazz records and this and that. But I kind of like every project I do is different, is asking something different of me, and I kind of like that. It kind of it makes all my skills go up, and it's fun for me. It's totally fun. I don't just do one thing. I kind of enjoy it, and maybe after a while I spread myself too thin and it's a bad thing, but as of right now I'm thin and love it.
Right, exactly.
And not weight wise, but
right.
Myself thin.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like it all goes back to that earlier component you said about being like a one-stop shop for musicians. So it sounds like you're kind of achieving that, you know?
Getting there for sure. There's a couple projects I'm working right now where it is literally they're sending me voice messages of song ideas. We're writing the song, I'm producing and mixing it, and we're putting it out. Like there's a couple projects I'm working on. There's a couple projects that I'm doing. I'm just playing keys on or singing background on, like trying to do it all, man. And especially for musicians these days with our pay scale going down and down and down as far as royalties and
Mm.
all that. I think the more you can do, the better chances you have of working.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of increasing your longevity too in the industry.
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Well, I kind of want to talk a little bit more about How Deep Is Your Love. Like I said, it's
Hmm.
nominated for Best Arrangement Instrumental Acapella for the Grammy. So first of all, congratulations on that. Like
Thank
that's
you
huge.
so much.
I'm sure you were
Appreciate it.
very excited. I also may have read that you were excited to hear the news, but you kind of wish a certain someone was there when you got it.
Yeah, so when I heard the news, I first of all, it was such a long shot for me. I was like, I'm not even gonna watch the nominee. Plus, I had a 2-year-old. I would have watched. I had a 2-year-old running around the house,
Right.
and we have to watch, Peppa Pig. Um, yeah, my wife was working in New York City. I believe it was New York City, and so she wasn't here. And my wife is in entertainment as well. She's an actress and a
Mhm.
model. And when I got the news, my phone started blowing up. And I was like, what's happening? And it was one of the guys from King's Return called me a couple times, texted me a couple times. And then I just got a ton of texts saying, congratulations, congratulations. I was like, what's going on? And I remembered, oh, the nominees were announced this morning.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I texted my wife, or I called her, and she texted me. She's like, I can't talk right now. We're about to go on set. And I said, I'm nominated. And she called me right back. She's like, they can wait. This is incredible. So yeah, I wish she was here because these kind of moments you want to spend with the loved ones. But my daughter was here and she has no clue what any of this means. But it was fun to hug her and pretend that my wife was here.
Yeah. It still made it special, at least. That is sweet.
For
Yeah.
sure. And my dad was here. We again was at my parents' house. When
Uh,
when my wife works, I come to my parents' house and they can spend time and I can get a little help, with the
yeah.
babysitting and all that. So my
Yeah.
parents were here, and that was really great because they've supported me since day one. So for them to be there for that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. I want to, yeah, like how did the song kind of come to be too? Like I think
Hmm.
before this song and you started recording it with, King's Return, you were kind of doing more live stuff. Like I think you just came off of tour not that long ago with Christina.
Hmm.
So where about
Yeah,
did this kind of fall in? Because I think that was also around the time COVID happened. So you were kind of forced into the
yeah,
studio, weren't you?
yeah. It was a crazy moment. Yeah, I always worked in the studio, and over the past, I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years, I've trying to gear more towards there. I used to tour with Brian and CeeLo Green and a bunch, and I kind of stopped doing that to tour with just a couple chosen artists, Megan Hilty for
Mhm.
one, who is one of my dear friends, and Dave Kaz for his tours. We're going on to Europe in May, which I'm psyched about. But it hit, yeah, yeah. So I was on tour with Christina Aguilera. Right after that, I did a short India Ari run in the
Mhm.
Northeast with my friend Javier Colon. And after that happened, then kind of COVID, it wasn't here yet, but then the holidays came and then we found out we were pregnant. And uh, COVID started to come, around February, March is when everybody started to get really scared. And then everything shut down in March.
Yeah.
When all the advice we were getting from friends was move near your family when you have a kid, because you're going to want the help. We were in Greenwich, Connecticut at the time.
Mhm.
So we packed everything up. We moved up to the Berkshires, and we didn't have a place to live. So we were at my parents' guest house or guest room, and where I am right now. And I got a message on Instagram from Gabe Kunda, who is the bass singer in King's Return.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, hey, man, I heard some of your stuff through Brandon Williams, who is another Grammy nominated producer that I work with all the time.
Mhm.
And he was like, I really like your stuff. Would you be into arranging for us? We're a new group. There's 4 of us. And at the time, all my studio gear was in storage. And like I said, we just moved up here. I think the
Mm.
baby was born at this point. And
Right.
the first few months, I mean, it's just insane. But it was cool. It was work. And Gabe was awesome, really nice. And I saw how unbelievable those guys were.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, what's the tune? He's like, we want to do How Deep Is Your Love? Here's the form we want to do. And I said, okay, great. So I did the arrangement. I tend to lean complex with a lot of my stuff.
Hmm.
So I gave my first arrangement, it's easy to dial back. So I gave him a pretty crazy arrangement. And then he said, okay, can we change this part and maybe dial this part back and this and that? And after a few days, it was done. And I just
Yeah.
did it on my little laptop with this little MIDI board that's right here, which is a tiny little cheap MIDI board that I have in my parents' house. And then they sang it in the stairwell of a school which is it's kind of their thing, which is it's really incredible because of the
That
the
is
natural
cool.
reverb and all that. Yeah, and it went kind of viral within the first couple hours on Twitter. It had 500,000 views, and then it
Wow.
jumped up to over 1 million by the next day.
Hmm.
And then they said, "Well, this has got to go on our record." They put it on the record, and here we are today.
That's wild. And I mean, like we said, it landed you a Grammy nom, which is huge. This isn't your
Yeah,
first nomination, is it? I think you've had a
this is
couple in the past.
no, this is my first Grammy nomination. I've won some awards before, but
Okay.
this is my first Grammy nomination, so it's pretty special. And with those guys, I couldn't have picked a nicer bunch of guys, an awesome, talented bunch of guys to kind of go through this journey with. It's pretty awesome. I still have yet to meet them,
Yeah. Oh my God.
so
So you
I'll
haven't
meet them at the
actually like,
Grammys.
I was gonna say, yeah, you haven't met in person. This has all been like remotely
Yeah,
the recording and stuff.
yeah, I'll meet them at the Grammys. They're gonna get in a couple days early. I'm actually going next week for some events, but I'm gonna meet them finally. We're gonna go out to dinner or brunch or something, and finally, I can't wait to hang out with those dudes. They're the best.
Yeah. Well, congratulations again on that. That's really
Thank you
spectacular. Yeah. Best of
so
luck
much. I
as
appreciate it.
well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, so much. It'd be fingers crossed, long shot, but fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Exactly.
Yep.
I kind of want to know too, do you get a certain different feeling when you're arranging or producing for other artists as opposed to putting out your own music? Because you have released like a couple albums and EPs here and there.
Yep. Yeah. For sure. I have to always keep their voices in mind and their level of complexity in mind. And
Mm,
and there's a lot of stuff you gotta, I kind of when like when they ask me, I kind of the arrangement starts in my head and with their voices in mind. So I kind of start with that. When it's mine, I have no boundaries. So I kind of go all in.
mm,
They can be super simple, super crazy. It's I don't overthink as much when they're my arrangements. When they're other arrangements, I'm like I said, I'm a worrywart earlier. I want them to love what I did so much that I'm just like, okay, I spend so much time on 1 10-second section just to make sure that it's what I can hear them singing. And uh yeah, for sure, I always like to, I get a lot of requests, can you write a song for so and so, and I'm like, yeah, I'd love to write a song with them because
mm.
I want to know what they're all about, and I want to
Right.
get their input on everything. And so I love the art of collaboration, because you really it really opens me up and help, when I write stuff for somebody that I've never written for before, it's something new to me. It's something that I always learn from and haven't done before. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're also kind of used to having a lot of accolades and awards come your way. Like I was looking up your debut album too, and it came out in 2008, and you won a Billboard Songwriting Award, and you won the Maxwell Song of the Year for one of those
Mhm.
nights. So,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, it was crazy.
are you tired yet of like getting all this accolades, or you just kind of like, it's whatever. Like,
No, I'm the opposite. Every time somebody says I like that song, it makes me want to go write a better song. It makes me want to
mm,
work harder so that person likes my next 10 songs. The Grammy thing, even though I've only been living with this nomination for a month and a half, I'm like, okay, win or lose, this has been incredible. I
mm,
got to do this again. I got to do. I kind of. It's tough to crack the recording academy as far as what's going to get in and not, but it just makes me want to work with more people, do more things, and try new things. I've always been a more ambitious, uh I don't know what the term is, ambitious accolade receiver. I don't know if that's a thing,
right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it makes me more motivated.
Yeah.
I get less motivated when I'm on a down. If I'm not crazy busy, I'm kind of, something's wrong.
Hmm.
So the 2-year-old actually helps my brain continue to go, which I love. And then, okay, she's napping. I got an hour to go do this, and I
Right.
become a
Yeah.
lot quicker since she was born. But I need. It's kind of weird to say, but distraction, scatterbrain, all that stuff. I kind of prefer that for some reason. I don't know why.
Mm,
It's always good to hunker down for a few hours and work on something, which I do constantly. But no, the awards and stuff just makes me want to do it again. When I
yeah.
won the John Lennon Award in 2000, whatever it was, for that first record,
Mm,
I continued to submit, and I continued to throw songs at that John Lennon, songwriting contest, and I won again in 2017. So it just makes me want to keep going and do the next
yeah.
thing. And okay, what's the next bigger thing? What's the next? Yeah. So it's always motivating to me.
Yeah. It's like hungry is the word you can
Big
describe with
time.
Phil. Yeah,
Yeah.
hungry.
And the more that comes in, the more I want to give out and put out. Especially I like to take advantage of these times, you know, like talking to you, like just it's pretty cool to just keep going and do more and more.
Hmm. Well, kind of on that note too about doing more. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody have this on their resume, but you've
Mhm.
also written and had songs used by NASA,
Yeah,
which is
it's super cool. Yeah. So that was, I don't know how it came about actually. I just got an email, I believe, from a guy that liked my music and Javier Colon, who was the season one winner of The Voice.
yeah.
And he's one of my best friends. So he was like, would you guys be into, you know, doing a collab out? And we are like, sure.
Hmm.
So we wrote that and we did a for the oh God, I forgot what it's called.
I think you had,
But
yeah, one was like the moon
yeah,
phase video, and you had the
right.
LRO project.
LRO,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, the
Yeah.
LRO was the me and Javier too. Moon and More is the song, and we recorded the video at all over New York and Connecticut. It was super cool, super fun to do. And then the moon phase was they just took a song from my second record, Only Human, called
Mm,
Calling It a Night, and they used it and they just played it in the background. They do those moon phases all the time. So
right.
I was pretty honored that not only the first project, but that they wanted my tune for the next thing. Super, it's I said super cool like 400 times in this interview, in this 15-minute interview so far, but I'm tired, very tired. But it was awesome, man. And everybody over there is so awesome. And they still use the Moon and More at all their events, which is
That's
really cool.
awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was fun. Like I said, I like writing music for everybody. I like producing music for all sorts of things, man.
And I feel like that's a really big feather in your cap too, to say you can have music that you've created that, you know, can go to this genre or this artist like a Brian McKnight. And then you also
Yeah.
have, you know, NASA, which is just
Yep.
very, very different ends of the spectrum, you could say.
For sure. And I think it stems from, like when I said growing up, there was so many different styles of music in the house.
Yeah.
So I think it stems, I love all music. I really do. I listen to everything. So I am a music junkie and I want to do it all. And it sounds very, you know, it might sound crazy. And a lot of people advice would say, no, you got to pick a lane. But
Mm.
I haven't had to do that yet. So maybe someday I will. But so far, I want to do it all. I love all styles of music.
Yeah. And if it's working out in your favor, I feel like you don't need to pick a lane either.
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. I get a little more specific with my own music, I guess. It's R&B,
Okay.
jazz, singer
Yeah.
songwriter, which is not specific at all. But I know what I want to put out. But when it comes to other people and other artists, it's just so much fun to bring stuff out of them and figure out exactly what they want to do and try to make that come to life.
Definitely. Well, I mean, like we said, the Grammy nom is obviously a big highlight of your career thus far. But do you have any other highlights in your career that you can say thus far kind of stand out to
Oh
you?
yeah, so many. Playing with Stevie Wonder was a dream come true because he's one of my heroes. I played with Stevie on a television show. It was surreal. I was so nervous I didn't enjoy it until after because I just didn't want to play the wrong note, you know, kind of
Right.
thing. Playing with James Taylor a couple times because he's another one of my musical heroes. I played with him here at Tanglewood in the Berkshires once, at Harvard in Boston once,
Mm.
um, and once on Martha's Vineyard as well. Just dream come true. The Christina Aguilera thing was dream come true. Singing a duet, like singing background was one thing, but to be center stage with her holding hands and looking into her eyes and singing was crazy, you know, because I, you know, grew up with her as a huge pop star.
Yeah.
There's a lot that winning the John Lennon way was presented to me. The Maxwell Song of the Year was presented Brian McKnight show in Dallas when I was playing with him. He presented that to me. That was insane. I'd have to look at my resume, but those ones stick out for sure.
Mm.
Megan Hilty, everything I do with her is incredible. We did a PBS special a couple years ago, and it was just magical. And every once in a while, I see it on PBS when I'm flipping through the channels. She is just one of the best singers I've ever played piano for.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot, man. There's a lot of them, and it'd probably, if you asked me this tomorrow, I'm sure I'd probably pick 5 more that are on my brain right now. But those stick out to me. Playing with Stevie doesn't get any better than that for me, you know,
Yeah.
because he was the guy that when I was a kid, I used to go to the record stores, and if I saw any Stevie Wonder album that I didn't have, I would buy it.
Mm.
I have literally like 60 Stevie Wonder CDs. A lot of them have the same songs, and a lot of them are, you know, import. but I'm still obsessed with Stevie. So
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. Very full circle, it sounds.
Oh, I'll say this. I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah, for sure. I'll say this. Sorry to cut you off. One of my dad's favorite songs is Irving Berlin's "Count Your Blessings Instead of Sheep" from White Christmas, and I love that song as well too. And I got a chance to arrange that with the New York Pops, and that was a dream come true. I want to do more of that. And I don't read music, so I got to sit and say, "Here's what I would do," and they kind of notated it out. It's pretty cool. So yeah, there's been a lot, man, and I'm sure as this conversation goes, I'll think of another one. But
yeah,
I don't take any one of those moments for granted, big or small.
Right. No, that's awesome. Yeah. So what do you have aside from obviously getting ready for the Grammys and meeting the guys that you worked with in person? Do you have any other projects currently in the works that you can talk about?
Tons. Yeah, I'm currently working on my third record, which I only have a couple more songs to record. Should be out in the early fall, late summer, early fall area. I'm very excited about that record, and I am producing, man, about 4 records right now. One for my hero, Arnold, one of my heroes, Arnold. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I've been pretty busy. One for a dear friend and a musical hero of mine, Arnold McCuller, who is one of the most renowned singers in the business for the last 50 years. I'm producing a Bill Withers tribute album with some incredible artists on it, but that doesn't start till the spring. I'm touring with Dave Koz, who is, an 11-time Grammy nominee jazz saxophonist. So, I'm going on his Dave Koz cruise. I'm not a cruise guy, but I will never say no to this cruise. It's incredible. It's fun.
Right.
The musicians are insane. It's just the best. So we're going to Spain and Portugal in April or the beginning of May, May, whatever, somewhere around there. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. And I just finished up a couple tunes for some Lifetime movies. I just finished mixing a couple things for Comedy Central. Tons of collaborations, but yeah, I'm working with one of the kids that was just a top 8 American Idol. I'm producing a couple songs for him. So yeah, a lot of work. I'm so excited about my record too. I should be pushing that more. I just released a single actually on Martin Luther King Day, which I forgot that I released a single the other day. It's my social justice single that I did with a couple of my friends, Jarrett Johnson and C. Red, some unbelievably talented musicians, and yeah, I'm busy, which I'm happy about.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything else from you from what I'm getting. It sounds like you like it.
Oh yeah, like I said, I need it because if I'm not working, then something's wrong.
No, I feel that. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Why don't you let people know where they can?
Pleasure.
Yeah, why don't you let people know where they can keep up with you on social media and your website and things like that?
Yeah, sure. All the social media is at Matt Cusson on Instagram, Twitter. I am on TikTok. I just have not used it yet, but I got to get better at that because I hear that's winning right now. Facebook is /Matt Cusson. All my music is wherever you buy, listen, stream music. It's there, and new record will be out this summer. I have another single coming out in March, April area. Yeah, and contact me, hit me up, stay in touch. I love talking to people.
Awesome. Love that. Matt Cusson,
MattCusson.com is the website too. Yeah, I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at promoting my stuff.
That's what we're here for. That's what. Yep. That's what we're here for.
If you didn't ask, I wouldn't have said a thing. So I appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate it a lot. This was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on.